Well, hello everybody. You've got Veronica and Alex here today from Big Business Integrated Governance, and we're going to talk to you a little bit about the big exams. Why are we qualified to speak about this? Well, we were part of the sort of pilot group who took the professional exams earlier in the year. But a little bit more about ourselves. So I'm Veronica. I mostly work in PMO, although I've really done project, program and portfolio. My whole career has been in projects, but mostly I'm a PMO person. And Alex, would you like to say hi?
Hi, my name's Alex. I do project, program, portfolio management, bit of business change management, occasionally program direction, and most of my career, two-thirds of the last 20 odd years, is in recovery of failing projects, programs, and portfolios.
Yes, and perhaps one for another time, but you did say some interesting things about why you ended up on so many failing projects, didn't you, Alex? And the relationship between, well, removing the PMO and obviously lack of big implementations and practices within organizations.
Yep. Lots of organizations get into problems because 6, 12, 18 months before they've decided to get rid of their PMO, and they don't realize that though the PMO might be a hidden cog in many organizations, it's a very important cog in the middle of the engine, and in time, everything tends to fall apart without the
Of course.
PMO.
So love your PMO, but we're not here for that today. We're here to talk about B exams. So we've had the level 1 available for a while, haven't we, Alex? Shall we talk a bit about the levels of exams that Big offer?
Yeah, level 1 is sort of like a foundation introductory course. I was one of the people who helped develop it. I was the first official person to take it. It is super, super simple. And it is getting incrementally tougher. And when it is relaunched, it will be quite a bit tougher. So if you want a quick, easy pass, get in there now and take it.
Sooner than later, that's right. Alex is one of the co-founders of Big, we should mention, and he's rightfully proud that he's pass number 001 on the level 1 exams. So that is a badge of honor for you, isn't it, Alex?
Yeah, I think I was the first person who had some spare time to do it and give feedback. But yeah, it's just about the basic concepts around business integrated governance. It's super simple. Anybody who's worked in large enterprises, structured enterprises before, will find it very straightforward.
Yeah, and we'll come to how people can study for the exams in a moment, won't we? But continue on our overview then. So we've got the level 1, which, as you say, is going to get harder soon. At the moment, it's the associate exam, but I believe we're going to rebrand it as the foundation exam once we have redeveloped it. So no fixed timescales for that, but always good to get in while these things are available. And then we skip to level 3. So there is this missing level 2 at the moment, isn't there, Alex? Can we explain why there is no current level 2 big exam offering?
Because we felt that level 3 was the most important exam to focus on after the associate stroke foundation exam. And level 2 will be an enormous amount of work for us to develop. I know how much work it was to develop the associate's exam initially. And we're not getting a huge demand right now for a level 2 exam. But there is the demand for the level 3 exam, the professional, because that's something you can take to clients and say, I've got this qualification. This is what I can do. I got grilled at my presentation. And therefore, that's how we structured it and prioritized.
Absolutely. And of course, in Big, we love effective prioritization, don't we?
We do indeed.
We do. We live for it. So the level 2, actually quite a lot of the preparatory work has been done for level 2, though, hasn't it? And, should we see significant increase in demand for it, we are more than happy to develop that and put it on. But as you say, the initial demand was for the level 3. So that's really very much a professional exam. It's called the Level 3 Professional, and it is for people who are consulting, perhaps with a big framework, or who are significantly involved in a big implementation in their organizations. And it's just to help give a bit the usual sort of structure and credibility. We were part of the pilot group. There was so much work went into preparing for this exam, wasn't there, Alex? Like, so much work went into developing it.
Well, quite a lot, but we have the base materials, the body of knowledge. We have a huge amount of presentations. Some of them are on YouTube. We've presented to lots of international forums, this, that, and the other. So we had all that base information. The level 3 was actually easier to develop than the level 1, because the level 3, the onus is on the candidate. Present, get grilled, to be honest, on your presentation, nicely grilled, to show your credibility that you can implement business integrated governance into an organization. And that's what it's about. So we didn't have to create hundreds of exam questions, which we had to do for the associate's exam.
Yes, exactly. So obviously the level 1 is an online multiple choice test of the sort that I'm sure we're all very, very familiar with. And the onus is very much on the candidate to do the required amount of study, to understand the concepts, to answer the questions correctly and get a pass. Now, the level 3 is very different, isn't it? So although it was all online and will continue to be so for the foreseeable future, it's different. It's a panel interview. It's assessed by real people, multiple real people, not obviously a machine. And the onus is very much on the candidate to come up with material of their own devising. So they absolutely must present in a way that shows that they understand big, they're using the big framework, the big terminology, big methods, big focus areas, but it's a real world practical implementation of big. Could be an end-to-end whole implementation, could be one aspect of it, of course. And although it's quite structured, it's also gives candidates quite a lot of latitude in how they approach the presentation, doesn't it? So, Alex, would you care to tell people a little bit more about the sort of structure of the exams themselves and how they're progressed through?
What, the level 3?
The level 3.
Well, so very few people have implemented big so far. So we can't do the exam on a you must have already implemented big and tell us about it.
And for clarity for people, that's an end-to-end implementation, though, isn't it? That's a full implementation. Well, many people have put in bits of big or elements of big.
Yes, they have. And many people have put in what are now elements of big before the concept of big even came about. So what we're saying is we want you to present based on past experience, based on something a bit more hypothetical or theoretical, or what you would have done if you'd known more about business integrated governance when you were doing those implementations, of how you have changed an organization to implement the business integrated governance framework. So my presentation was based at an organization that I worked at 20 odd years ago, on where they were doing what would have been the starting points of big. If big had been around in those days, they would have, bitten our arms off. But it was the key concepts that are within big. But what we did at that organization was not as evolved as what is now in the big framework. But this was 20 odd years ago, and what they did was pretty good. I just want to stress one thing. The presentations, everything is completely confidential and discreet. At the end of the presentations, all material is deleted. We can give you an NDA if you want. The scenario I based my presentation on was politically contentious, and in that industry sector, if people saw my presentation, even though there are no company names on it, they would know exactly who I was talking about. So don't worry about that. Your content is confidential, and we delete it afterwards, and we can give you an NDA.
Yes, it is very much only for the purpose of assessment at the point of assessment,
Yes.
isn't it?
Yes.
Can't emphasize that enough. Obviously, if we love use cases. If you're happy to share, that's a very different matter. But obviously, there's a lot of people who work in a lot of sectors, businesses, etc. And for more recent examples, obviously, currently, working on big implementations, it could be very sensitive. So, yes, important.
And part of big is you're introducing very clear accountability and transparency and understanding and clearly showing strategy to delivery and back again. And for organizations that don't have these things, they can be very contentious to implement. Why would badly performing directors want more transparency and accountability? No, not at all. And
yes,
I was in one of those organizations.
Point, isn't it, that we frequently talk about in big. The politics of big is a study in itself. Okay, so thank you, Alex. So that's right. For candidates, your first step really is to come up with your scenario, isn't it? So you know what you've worked on, you know where you've worked, what happened, you know what your best examples of big are. For those who perhaps don't have an example, I think we would take a credible how you would do it theory, but it would have to be realistic. Big is full of challenges. I think we would have to see some recognition of that. There's never going to be a textbook implementation of it. So we'd probably have to see something around the sort of practical realities. That is very much what we saw in these presentations, wasn't it? People taking, either a long time ago or more recently, something they'd done in the real world that was trying to push their business, their organization in a more integrated governance direction, and discussing some aspect. I think it's worth noting that for the level 3, it's only 20 minutes, and we were very strict on time, weren't we, Alex?
Yes, and 20 minutes is not a long time to give a presentation.
Not of this nature, no. There's so much you could go into. I remember I talked about maturity, so I actually stole the diagram of big components and showed a sort of before and after maturity score for how we'd sort of progressed the different elements forwards in our organisation, and talked only about one or two of those components, but I probably could have gone into all of them in so much more detail and spent time doing that.
Yeah, I'd just re-emphasize it's about credibility. Is the candidate credible as somebody who really understands what business integrated governance is all about? And the second point, is the candidate credible as somebody who can implement business integrated governance into an organization? Doesn't necessarily mean that you're a project or a program manager. You could be a senior operational manager or transformation director or whatever your job title is, but it's that two prongs of credibility. Are you credible to us that you really get your head around all the key concepts and processes and drivers? And do we believe that you are somebody we could hire, let's say in a future world, to implement big into an organization? So as long as you've got those two boxes ticked, you're a pass, and we use a balanced scorecard. I think we've normally had 3 assessors, I think, for each of
minimum of 2,
candidates.
but usually 3, just to give a sort of fair and balanced opinion as much as possible.
I think one of them they had 4. So yeah, that's it. It's pretty straightforward. We're a friendly bunch, but we know our onions, and it's that credibility thing. So
Yeah.
no
But
matter
don't
how
let that put
friendly
you
we
off.
are, if we're not convinced, we'll say, maybe work on the material, work on your understanding, come back again in 6 months or a year.
Yeah, and that's where partly where things like the language would come in. I don't think you'd have to be. Yeah, I think a candidate would struggle if they hadn't absorbed some of the material surrounding Big. You know, hadn't absorbed a decent chunk of the body of knowledge, hadn't been to quite a lot of the presentations, absorbed some of the YouTube material. It is, you know, there's a lot to it. And although you can't cover everything in your speech, you want to acknowledge the aspects of it that you don't have time to cover. That's what makes it big as opposed to any other sort of approach, isn't it?
Yeah, and I'll say one little point on that. Anybody can go in, I believe, on the website, and you don't have to be a signed up full member and read the summaries of each chapter of the body of knowledge. Anybody can access the videos on YouTube, and different people get absorb knowledge different ways. So some people might want to watch the YouTube videos first, then look at the chapter summaries, then look at the whole chapter. Other people might just say, no, I'm just much better getting stuck straight into the body of knowledge. So those options are there for people who learn in different ways.
Yeah, and of course, not to forget that we have our very own BOK Club. We're just starting. We're filming this in sort of September 2025. We've decided to put on a BOK reading group to make a friendly group so that everybody can read the body of knowledge together. So that will be an excellent place for people to start. And in part, the motivation to do that was simply that you know, the body of knowledge is a decently wordy piece of reading. And for those who maybe find it at best a bit dry having to read this stuff, covering the sort of core components of that in a friendly setting where we've got a chance to talk about practicalities, use cases, provide further explanation, point at further resources. There was definitely the thinking there that this would be very good material for people who were thinking about taking either of the exams or both.
No, you're absolutely right. If I hadn't been involved in developing the business integrated governance framework and BOK, for the way I learn, the BOK club, the reading club once a month, would actually be best for my type of brain. But everybody's different, so lots of different avenues you can go down, whichever one works best for you.
Yeah.
What
Just to
date
mention,
is the first BOK club again?
October. It's on the website. I think it might be the 8th. We'll have to check our date.
It's the Monday, isn't it?
It's definitely Monday, second Monday of the month. Yes.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay. So
Any
yes,
more
we're very excited to
questions?
start picking up. I think I think we're nearly done, Alex, actually. So how would I study? Just the level 1 is open to everybody. You will have to provide us with an email address to get your results and get your results and access the exam. But anybody can go onto the website. I think there's a charge at the moment of £38 to take the exam as a standalone thing. Full members or full conference attendees can actually take that free at the moment. We're doing an inclusive package, so that's definitely worth considering as well. And then for the level 3, obviously that's a separate enterprise, but you can't take that until you've passed your level 1, which we think is a reasonable prerequisite.
Yes.
We're a friendly bunch. If you want to talk to any of us, just reach out to Big. Somebody will be very happy to talk to you about how to take exams or study or point you at some resources or really anything you'd like to know about Big. The cost for a full membership at the moment is £120, but that is really good value this year because you get the full body of knowledge. You can attend the BOK Reading Club that we've already talked about. You can attend the conference. We have various other events that we are planning on putting on this year. You can take your exam. It's a very good year to join in on Big, I have to say, in terms of benefits. And of course, you can get CPD certificates. I should have mentioned that as well, for things like the conference, attending the book club, and for passing your exam as well. And we do provide exam certificates, not digital at the moment, but we are working on that, aren't we, Alex? We're hoping to provide digital badges in the future. And timescales, I mean, the level 1 is easier than you're probably going to expect at the moment. You'd probably want to do some basic level of study first, but you know, you could do worse than have a go and see how you get on with it. Obviously, the level 3 is considerable ratchet up from that. We can't say too much about the pass rates for level 3, can we, Alex? Because we've only done the pilot group, and I think we had perhaps one resit, but broadly, because of the nature of the people who were taking the exam, it was more or less 100% pass rate, wasn't it? But obviously, we wouldn't necessarily expect that to continue in future.
Good.
Okay, well, thank you so much for your time this evening, Alex. It's been a real pleasure talking to you and reprising our thoughts about the big exams. Any final thoughts you'd care to leave our viewers with?
It's well worth doing. It's well worth to be an early adopter and an early person with a certificate of competency, you know, the level 3 professional exam. Go and have a look at the associate's exam as soon as possible. It's super easy if you've worked in a structured organization. But the associate's exam also introduces you to some of the concepts of business integrated governance. Watch the YouTubes, have a look at the website, and most importantly, buy a conference ticket. 5th of November, and we've got some top speakers, included Stephen Jenner from Managing Portfolios, who's probably the top portfolio benefits person in the world today. David Booth from IASP on the strategy side. He's also very, very well known and full of fantastic insight. I think that's all from me. Thanks, Veronica, for asking the questions.
Okay, yes, thank you, everybody. And if you've got any questions about the exams, there's a lot of information on the website, but please do just reach out and ask. You can find both Alex and myself on LinkedIn. You can find the big group on LinkedIn, which you can follow. You can subscribe to the YouTube channel. And yeah, hope to see you at the conference November the 5th. Bye, everyone. Bye.
Bye.